Saturday night, San Antonio. Jalen Brunson scored 45 points, 13 straight in the fourth quarter in one of the most iconic games in New York basketball history 2 nights ago, and the New York Knicks won their first NBA championship in 53 years. The Empire State Building turned orange and blue. Times Square erupted. You had Taylor Swift screaming in the stands, Timothy Chalamet reenacting the game winner. Our managing partner, Dan Bodish, was in it all, which is awesome, up in New York. And the city threw a party that shut down the streets across all 5 boroughs. And that's not even the whole story. It's not even the beginning of the weekend as a whole. The FIFA World Cup opened on American soil. The U.S. beat Paraguay 4-1 in Los Angeles, the first World Cup match in the U.S. in over 30 years. You had Scotland's fans taking over Fenway Park. Iran playing in the United States amid a peace deal. And then on top of that, you had the UFC Freedom Fight fighting on the South Lawn of the White House. All 7 fights ended in a knockout, $1.5 million for VIP packages. The Octagon was at the White House, which is incredible. Not to mention the Stanley Cup happened. I mean, I completely missed that, but the Stanley Cup happened, which is really cool. Shout out to the Carolina Hurricanes. And to bring it all the way back this morning, the Big 12 sued one of its own member schools, a conference suing its own team over a player who bet on his own games and was granted an injunction to play anyway. College sports governance is in full meltdown across the whole landscape, and SpaceX IPO'd on Friday. So, not much to talk about here on Playbooks and Portfolios with your hosts, Sean and Liam Clifford. This might have been one of the greatest sports weekends of our lifetime, and we're really excited to break it down here on Playbooks and Portfolios.
All right. A lot to unpack. What a weekend.
What a weekend is right. Really cool sports weekend across the board. And it was really nuts because it was such a packed week. I mean, the SpaceX IPO, like we said, was monumental. Just checking the stock price as of Monday today, up 16%. Up to $2.47 trillion market cap.
Insane.
A lot of winners in that deal.
Climbing. The NASDAQ, I want to say, is up 3% as well. So, I mean, tons of movement, and it's only Monday. Insane.
Yeah. Insane across the board. You had that happening. You also have the peace deal being organized as we speak. That pretty much launched over the weekend. President Trump announced that they were working toward that peace deal. A lot to unpack there. But then bring it back to why we're on this podcast is sports. Like I said, probably the best sports weekend we've seen all year, probably in a long, long time. But to start, I mean, the Knicks are champions officially after 53 years, $20 million per game. But the Knicks beat the Spurs 94-90 in Game 5 on Saturday, June 14th. Won in the series of 4-1. I will say, was not my prediction. I was spotted on the Cincinnati Bengals social media team saying Spurs. So I will say that I brutally lost that bet with the social media team, at least talking about it. Jalen Brunson, 45 points, Game 4, 29-point comeback, one of the best comebacks I've ever seen. Did you watch that game, Liam? It was unbelievable.
Insane. Jalen Brunson, I mean, what a performance, not only in the final game, but just in the entire tournament and in the final specifically. But pretty cool for New York, obviously. I think the city kind of went nuts there after the game, and it was, I guess, fun to see at the beginning, and then got a little bit crazy, and obviously some fans got a little bit too wild. But overall, they definitely enjoyed it. And
what do you rank? Do you rank New York's explosion after their championship this past weekend as crazier, or Philadelphia after they won the Super Bowl? I feel like that was also the one that people talk about for a lot.
I think it's got to be this weekend. It's New York. I've never seen anything like that, and not just the amount of people, and then also like some of the things that happened were just not good. But that was out of top Philly in my opinion. But I mean that the videos of these people just like packed, like it looked literally like New Year's Eve in New York City.
Right.
The street was packed. It was nuts. But
yeah.
What do you think?
All together, the finals averaged 19.6 million viewers on ABC and ESPN. Game 1 alone, 16.93 million, the most watched since 2018, 90% up year over year, which is incredible for the sport, incredible for the NBA. Each Knicks home finals game generated $20.3 million, like I said earlier, and Disney sold out of all their ad inventory, 42 advertisers across all of them. Trump attended game 3 at Madison Square Garden, which is the first sitting president at a finals game ever. Makes sense. He's always into all the sports. He's always trying to be there. Not only was he at that game, but then he was at the White House lawn, obviously. But I think that the key here is talking about the business of the championship as a whole. MSG being a publicly traded entity, it'll be very cool as a sports business geek to watch how the movement of the NBA Finals, how they can parlay that into this year and beyond. I just think that it's a very unique opportunity for the city of New York to really rally behind their sports. Growing up, I just always remember watching New York sports, the Eli Mannings of the world with the Victor Cruz catch, whether that be Odell Beckham making some unbelievable catches and highlights that will forever live in NFL history. Now you have the Knicks winning it all.
Yeah.
The Yankees back in the day. It was really cool to watch. I think that this is a very, very opportunistic time for New York sports. I think they can convert on it. I know that their mayor is very excited about it as well.
I think beyond just New York, too, it's a huge opportunity for the NBA in general, too. Like, looking at the numbers, 16.93 million viewers, which is the most watched finals game since 2018. They have more eyeballs around the sport. It's going to be interesting to see how they go about now capturing this audience with this time that they just had where everybody was watching it. I haven't heard the NBA, I haven't heard it been this talked about in years. And now having the whole city of New York behind them and kind of really pushing the NBA forward from an advertising perspective, I think now's the opportunity for the NBA to strike with some interesting things throughout the offseason, and we'll see if they come back into next year's season in order to continue this momentum moving forward.
Yeah, anytime that you can have the largest team in the largest market win a championship, I feel like if you're a president of the league or a commissioner, you're pretty excited about what that's going to mean.
Adam Silver had the biggest smile on his face when he was handing that trophy to Nate.
I bet it makes sense though, because I would be too. It's exactly what you wish for. I mean, it's always great to have the smaller cities win a championship. It means a lot, but when it's New York and every eyeball across the world is paying attention, it's just great for the overall traction of what you can do with your league. And then not to mention, there is news about Madison Square Garden exploring spinning off and separating the Knicks and the Rangers into two completely different publicly traded companies. So I see this as a snowball effect across sports. I think that you're seeing as large of a opportunity as ever, and we'll see what they can do with that.
Before the finals, the Knicks had a valuation of $7.5 billion estimate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think now, if they do spin off and look to sell to a new group or whatever that looks like? What does that valuation skyrocket to after winning the NBA Finals? How do you value that?
So I think that it's the same conversation as the Seahawks, right? You can't technically value a team coming off of a championship any differently than how you'd value a team anyways.
Yeah.
I think it still has to be based off of revenue. It has to be based off of sales. It has to be based off of tickets. It has to be based off of the ad revenue and the viewership and all those different things that go into valuing a team in the first place. I do think that in general, it definitely doesn't hurt. I'm sure that it affects the multiple in some way, shape, or form. I'm not a savant or a deal maker when it comes to uncovering what these valuations look like. Yeah. I would love to one day. As I just want to say it now on episode 11, for anybody who doesn't know, my goal in life is to own a professional team wholeheartedly. So one day we'll reach there and I'll let you know how that deal goes on Playbooks and Portfolios, probably 15, 20 years from now. But altogether, I think that you know what you're buying with a professional team. You're buying the viewership, you're buying the eyeballs, you're buying the social capital around owning a team in a big city. And that's really what the focus is. So I don't think it necessarily changes anything when it comes to the actual numbers. Now, I bet the numbers were higher this year when it comes to revenue and sales and everything that comes into the valuation. Definitely. So it definitely helps. But I don't think when you say oh, do you value a team that just came off a championship differently purely based off of the championship? No, I think that you just focus on the numbers and go back to that. So that's my personal take. I don't know if you see it any differently.
No, I don't disagree with you. You can't inflate valuation just because a team won. They have to do it consistently over and over and over again. And like you said, it all is going to come down to numbers. I'm sure the valuation will be higher just due to more ticket sales, more revenue being brought in from jersey sales, and all the things that go into it from a business perspective. But just strictly off of them winning the finals, I don't think you can slap on a whatever 10x just off of that. But
Right.
the valuation will be higher due to revenue numbers, I'd imagine.
No doubt. But moving on to the World Cup being here in the United States, tournament opened with Mexico and South Africa. Mexico winning 2-0 on June 11th. USA with a big win over Paraguay. Like I said, 48 teams, 104 matches, 16 host cities. And I got to check this stat, but I mean, amazing. 500 million ticket orders across the entirety of the World Cup. Really, I mean, just cool. I will say, in addition, you had Scotland's Tartan army invading Boston. I don't know if you saw that video of them walking the streets, but you're seeing the fandom from every nook and cranny of the world. I even saw Juliana was showing me a couple videos of a bunch of foreigners coming in for their first games, and they're trying different foods, American foods, and one of them went to like Wawa and had like a hoagie and was like, "This is amazing! Like this is what American food's all about."
That's
Not
cool.
necessarily, but
Yeah,
but it's cool.
Try it.
It is.
Sheets and Wawa.
Yeah, but I will say this. I think a lot of people downplayed what we could do for the World Cup and how it would look in the United States. I think that we're blowing it out of the water. It's only 1 week in, and it's already such a spectacle. And it's an amazing opportunity for the United States to show off all the greatness of what it is. And so overall, really excited to see how it pans out. Really praying the U.S. can make it.
They looked really good. Well, they won 4-1. That setting playing in SoFi was so cool.
Electric.
Seeing the backdrop and the full stadium and just unbelievable. Like seeing the World Cup being played in American stadiums, especially having the first one be in SoFi. I've personally been there. We practiced there 1 year. Awesome stadium to be in. So that was fun to watch. And they're rolling. So hopefully they can keep it rolling. But huge win, 4-1 USA over Paraguay to start.
Yeah. And the one thing I do want to talk about, which is such an interesting topic, is you have a war going on, right? And now a peace treaty kind of coming out, historic peace deal, as we saw this past weekend. But you have Iran playing on American soil, their team. How do you feel about that? Like, what's the thought? It's such a sports thing, like the whole world's crumbling down. COVID, I know I say this all the time, but like back when COVID, the entire world shut down, but we were playing on the field with masks on against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Like, it is what it is. Sports just continues to go. This is an even more aggressive, in my opinion, aggressive thing to happen where Iran is still playing here in America. But it does show that sports does not slow down, and sports will always have its place in geopolitics, the movement of the economic climate, a little bit of everything. It does not stop. So, Liam, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as it's a testament to sports. It's no matter what, we continue to see it time and time again where sports brings people together. When the world stops, sports doesn't. It's always something that's going to be there. I think the passion that comes with sports and fans and the people that it can bring into rooms where you never even knew you would be in the same room as certain people or want to have conversations with certain people. But then when sports get brought into it, next thing you know, you're mashed together in a room, specifically in this case where Iran is now playing on U.S. soil. Really kind of cool, to be honest, to see all things put aside with everything going on in the entire world of all these issues and conflict. No matter what, people can still come together and come to a common ground to watch something that they love and that they're passionate about and still do it civilly and not have some of these issues and put those other things aside just for the love of the game and the love of the sport and kind of what it all brings to people beyond just watching it, the passion and the emotion and all the things that come with it. So I love it. I think it's super cool. I think it's just, again, we talk about it all the time and we will probably talk about it forever on this podcast, but it's just a testament to what sports can do, not only for the U.S., for the athletes, for the coaches, but just the world as a whole just continues to bring people together, even in tough times.
Yeah, and I think this is not necessarily a segue, but when it comes to the AI race, I think one thing that happened this week with Anthropic launching Fable 5 then the government putting the constraints on who gets to use it, who doesn't get to use it, it being such a groundbreaking AI use case. I think in this world of AI, when it comes to sports, that's where people are going to continue to lean. They're going to lean on the fact that the live events, the beauty of the game, like you said, people coming together, it's the one opportunity to keep real life, IRL in real life as much as possible. You can't recreate that. And I don't think that there's ever going to be a world where people just buy into AI games or something along. I don't even know what that would look like. So I think that as it continues to go in the direction of what is AI, what is for a robot, what is for a person, all these different conversations that we're having, which I didn't foresee having for a long time, but now it's right in front of us. It is a refreshing feeling to be in the sports world and knowing that there's a lot of jobs on the line right now. There's a lot of movement across the board, but nobody can replicate what you're doing in the current moment. And also goes for everything that's within sports. I think the things that we invest in, it's constant reminder that what we do is important, and it also has great use cases to the rest of civilization. Human health, human performance, and human potential all run through sport in one way, shape, or form, whether that be true sport on the field, whether it be wellness and taking care of your body, taking care of your mental. There's so much that needs to be focused on with all the new innovations in AI. I do think that there is a huge place for that category to erupt because it's the only way that people can feel sane in such a crazy world. I will be the one to say it. Like I feel this all the time, especially in business. I just feel different now. The fact that now we can run so many different things through AI and completely change the way that your workday goes. And now you have decision makers of these large private companies who get to choose ultimately who gets to use what. And it's scary. It's terrifying. But that's just a quick tangent, and I didn't want to spell over too much. But it's just different. It's a different world we live in.
It's different. We just met with a founder the other day who's got a whole operations team set up, and it's all through AI. And he's a lean team. He's got 3 employees, and he wants to keep it that way for as long as he possibly can because he showed us this back end of this crazy AI that he's got set up that's running all these different things that normally humans would have to run. So you're not wrong. It is crazy. It's just the tip of the iceberg of how people are kind of feeling when it comes to AI. But the best part, and bringing it back to what we were even talking about to begin with, was I think sports allows people to still have that human interaction and that passion for something that is real and cannot be faked no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moving on, the Stanley Cup final happened 3-0. Carolina Hurricanes over the Vegas Golden Knights. It was a great game. A great game. I know it was 3-0, but still really, really well done. And Carolina wins 4-2 in the Stanley Cup. Now, my question to you, Liam, is I didn't see a thing on it. I'll be completely honest. That's what we're here for on this podcast, is honesty. I did not see anything. I didn't even know it was going on. That's a problem if I'm the NHL. The fact that 2 guys who care a lot about sports, it was just overtaken by all the other events. How does that happen, A? And B, how do you prevent that from happening in the future? Because I'm assuming they had to have noticed this. There was a lot going on this weekend. Do you think that they were trying to blend it in and say this is a perfect time for someone to just be on the television and turn this game on? Or do you think that it's kind of the beginning of a rocky road moving forward for the NHL?
Yeah, it's hard to say because this weekend was, like you said, so overtaken by everything else happening, with the UFC event being monumental, the NBA Finals being the biggest NBA Finals in almost 10 years with New York. So it's hard to say that the NHL is now struggling. I think I just pulled up the viewership. Game 1 had 4.78 million, which was the largest cup opener since 2019. And then jumping to Game 4, 5.3 million viewers, the largest Game 4 audience since 2017. So the views are still there. I think it was just sort of a unfortunate chain of events where they got thrown into this fire of all these other things happening that were huge events. We're talking about the NBA Finals with almost 20 million viewers. That took up a lot of views. And then beyond that, with UFC, I don't even think they've come out with the number. Paramount, I saw an interview of Dana White saying he was going to let Paramount release those numbers because they're probably going to be pretty staggering. But I think with the NHL, it's definitely something you got to kind of look internally and think, okay, what did we do wrong and why were more people not talking about it? it could be part of the world we're in. Like I'll be honest too, if we're being honest here, I didn't hear about it either. I was focused on the UFC event, and I just so happened to hear somebody talk about it. And like that was the only time I heard about it, and I didn't think to flip it on because I was watching the UFC. So I wouldn't say that they're struggling, but I do think it's an opportunity for them to look internally and say, okay, how can we compete at the same level as some of these other groups are? And I think it goes to a lot of these streaming services are, for example, Paramount signing with the UFC. I think it was a 10-year deal, but does the NHL now look to sign with a streaming service to be able to get their platform out there more? Do they want to attach themselves to one of those groups? Because clearly what they did for this finals didn't take the cake on the number one rating.
Well, I'll say this though, cool that you listed those numbers, and cool that they're up. I think where I'm saying they missed is they missed on social.
I was gonna say social. I didn't see anything.
I mean, I'm not gonna 5 million viewers is great viewership for the NHL. I mean, it really is, but it's the capture around social media, which I don't think is talked about. I think that we talk a lot about viewership as a whole of who's actually watching the games, and that's obviously very important because it's the live audience that you're able to capture in real time. But I also think that there's got to be a post-production, or the social media team's got to have a little bit of some answers, because that's where you got to be able to convert on the biggest plays, the biggest
100%.
moments, the biggest stories, and being able to use that momentum forward is really what I'm trying to say.
I think, no, 100%. I think with that too, I'm going to talk about the events that happened this week. You have the NBA Finals, and you have UFC, and then you have NHL in the middle.
And the World Cup.
And World Cup. And World Cup was just beginning too, so that's just the start of it. But with the NBA Finals, you have all of these celebrities, all of these influencers, all these people posting about it, the influence of the world that are actually there covering the game, but then the celebrities that are there just bringing more and more eyeballs to the game and posting about it on their own pages. And then you flip it to the UFC, they have all of these other influencers and celebrities that they're inviting to the games to then post about it and bring more eyes specifically to the social media side of things, not streams, but the social media. I think that, like, to your point, is where the NHL probably missed. Is maybe I don't follow the right people, but I didn't see a single influencer or celebrity or anybody posting about the NHL Stanley Cup compared to most of them were at NBA Finals or at the UFC. So maybe those people were kind of overtaken by those other events, and that's where you kind of saw the NHL miss the mark from a social media perspective, because you're right, I didn't see much of it at all on social media either.
Yeah, and it's just important to list that the capture needs to be there, but I'm sure they're going to have their answers. Congrats to another great season by the NHL on the ice. Really, really well done. But moving into the next segment of UFC Freedom 250 at the White House. This is insane. So as I told you guys this morning, but Sugar Sean O'Malley is one of my favorite athletes of all time, personally. I've just always been a Sugar fan, watched every single fight of his. I'm a big UFC guy in general. I know you are as well. But UFC Freedom 250, June 14th, South Lawn of the White House. All 7 fights ended in a knockout or a TKO. Incredible. The main event being Gaethje.
I haven't seen that in a while. All 7 fights ending in a knockout.
Well, that's
awesome.
So, and it's something too, because if you remember that last BMF fight, it was all ground. It was all on the ground. It was all grappling and wrestling. And it wasn't what people expected. But then you have this, and you get to, I mean, this definitely felt like something everybody could really, really enjoy. Like, my wife doesn't really watch the UFC, but she was sitting there until last 2 fights, and it was too late for her. But pregnant wife, she's got to get her sleep. But she was watching the fights for sure. But across the board, main event being Gaethje dethroning Topuria. Holy cow! I'm just so bad at pronouncing his name. With a TKO in round 4, that was a heavy hitting match. Co-main with Gane and Pereira, a round 2 knockout for the interim heavyweight title. And then really cool to watch O'Malley. Really cool to watch Bo Nickel. Penn State got so much love. If you watched it, so much love. But a huge knockout for him. Chandler got knocked out, and then Diego Lopez also had a KO. 1.5 million partner investment VIP packages circulated by the UFC, streamed on Paramount Plus with the prelims on CBS. It was Trump's 80th birthday and Flag Day, so it was it was just a whole to do. But I think what really captured a ton of the moment was the walkout of Gaethje when he looked at the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office. I know that, and I do want to talk about I know that people try to make this a controversy of the whole event, being at the White House lawn, being, in such an incredibly difficult time across the world of just conflict on conflict. I do want to hear your take, Liam, on the event as a whole. I think you got to give a shout out to Dana White, because the thing is, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, whether you feel some type of way, whether you thought it was the coolest event ever, if you're Dana White and you're the UFC, what an event
What a
opportunity.
success.
What an opportunity. And he converted on it
Yeah.
unbelievably.
Yeah.
Really well done by the UFC. But I do want to just hear your take on the politics that kind of play into this. And if you agree, disagree, what's your thoughts on the overall sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that an event like this can become political, and that's just kind of the nature of the game when you're doing something this big. Whenever you're doing something this big, people are going to talk about it, and people aren't going to like it either.
Right.
Obviously, that's then amplified when you're doing it at the White House, specifically on the White House lawn in the middle of a conflict. So I would be naive to say that I don't understand when people say that, and I can't not necessarily side with them, but say like, okay, that makes sense. I get what your point is, because there's so many things happening and this should be the least of our worries. But again, the opportunity presented itself. Dana White took the opportunity and knocked it out of the park. I mean, this event was unbelievable. I watched it from beginning to end. They dealt with weather. They dealt with bugs. They dealt with all these different things that they had to do. It's the first ever UFC fight and event
outside,
which is just like, I can't imagine fighters cutting weight the day before, going out the next day and fighting in the humidity. I mean, I'm not too far from DC. I'm in Philly right now, and it was pretty hot yesterday. And I can't imagine kind of the different things that those fighters had to prepare for while training. So just all the nitty gritty details that people don't think about when putting this event together, it's insane. I know I was talking to a good buddy who's from Lidditz, Pennsylvania. So Lidditz, Pennsylvania, there's a company there that has all of the biggest events. So if Taylor Swift's performing, Justin Bieber, whoever it is, they set up their stage and what the concert's going to look like at this massive place in Lidditz. So they did that there. They did the UFC kind of venue and stage in Lidditz to make sure. And this was going on for months. My buddy's from there, and he told me they put it up like 6 to 8 months ago. And they've been practicing, and he kept seeing lights and different things go up and come down. And so there was so much work that went into this event, way beyond what people ended up seeing. And I think the moment you said, when Gaethje looked at the declaration, and then beyond that too, the intro of the national anthem with Zach Brown band, and then the fighter jets flying over.
Oh my God,
that's gonna be legendary for the rest of everybody's life. Like, I don't know if anything like this will ever be done again. So I know I didn't get too political there, but I understand it. I side with the people that might say it's controversial, but my take on it, an opportunity for our country to be able to do something this cool. I mean, I'm a fan. I thought it was really unique. And all in all, just as a UFC fan, one of the greatest UFC cards I've ever watched. Like you said, I've never seen any UFC card where there's 7 knockouts and every single fight is just absolutely electric. And then, like you said, Bo Nickel, our Penn State brother, going crazy and having a knockout of his own, wearing the Penn State shirt before when he was warming up. Like, just a cool event all around for America, for Penn State, for all the viewers watching, including myself. Really unique.
Yeah. Here's my take as a whole, especially as sports become more and more readily available and more talked about, and really entering the absolute peak across not only the US, but across every country in the world. NFL expansion, NBA expansion, private equity entering, deals going on left and right. There's just so many eyeballs and so many reasons to talk about sports. Here's my ask to the community. Keep what happens on the field and what happens in the ring, on the court, whatever it might be. Let's try to keep the sanctity and the beauty of sports, the beauty of sports. We could talk about everything else outside of it. That's fine. I do think that there's places to have those discussions. And I do think that it's very important to, especially when there's so much viewership, to use the platform wisely and try to, if you have something to say, then say it. But when it comes to the actual doing of the event, you cannot shy away from the fact that that event will live on, as you said, as probably the coolest event, and maybe potentially an event that can never be replicated ever again. Let's keep that what it is.
For sure.
It's an amazing thing by Dana White. It's an amazing thing by the UFC. Whether you feel some type of way about Trump allowing that to happen, that's your own thought, and that's a whole nother conversation. But when it comes to what happened in the ring and the fights and the beauty and spectacle of what was put on during that time. Like that's what every single league looks to do in their career.
No doubt.
And it was just so cool to see. So that's probably my biggest ask to the community is let's try to keep sports as sports. Now, I will say this, and this is kind of tough to talk about in a way, but the Michelle Obama comment after the fight, I do want to say something about that. That's where, for the athletes, now talking directly to the athletes, that's where there's times to draw the line. If I'm gonna sit here and talk about keeping sports as sports and keeping the beauty of sports on the court, in the ring, on the field, keeping it its own thing, then don't bring that to the arena. Like that's where me personally, I don't care what my political view is. As a man, don't talk about another man's wife like that on national television, on the White House lawn. Like that's where I feel like it crosses the line. And that's where it definitely rubbed me the wrong way. I looked at my wife and we just kind of had that weird feeling. Like it was just like, why and now you're seeing clip after clip after clip of it. And that's where the controversy is. We talk about wanting sports to be sports, then leave it at that. You can say whatever you want in the post conference or on your social media. This is America. There's a reason that you have freedom of speech. I'm all for that. Have whatever you want to say. But I did not think that was the time and place. I kind of had to get that off my chest because it's been bugging me for, the last 24 hours after watching it. And I just don't think that that's what needs to happen in an event that is so beautiful. Kind of puts a damper on that specific knockout and that specific win. So let's try to do better there is my
100%.
point.
There's like you said, it's a point where you can say the freedom of speech, you can say what you want, but then there's the time where you can take it too far, especially knowing the platform you're given in that situation. It's an unbelievable event. They have the live music performing, the president's there, all these people on the White House lawn, and then you want to say something like that. It's just not right. And I also agree. It rubbed me the wrong way. It made me feel weird watching it afterward. And it was one of those things where I think everybody was like, let's just move on now to the next fight. I do want to now bring up one thing, though, and I'll play a little bit of a devil's advocate here. Not that I don't agree with you by any means of what you just said, but you talk about leaving sports, keeping it as sports, and then kind of separating the other things going on in the world away from that. When looking at the UFC on this topic, during this weekend, UFC CEO Dana White and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio signed a historic memorandum of understanding. I don't even know if you saw this, Sean, but they signed it. They officially partnered to establish a global sports diplomacy partnership. So the agreement formally designates the UFC as a soft power ambassador of the United States, utilizing the sport's massive worldwide reach to enhance cultural exchange and international relations. So me saying that, I don't disagree with what you just said of keeping sports and then having kind of everything else separate to keep the beauty of it in sports and everything that surrounds that. But then you have something like this where we're actually signing documents to kind of combine the two and go out. And now it's for a good cause. There's, like I have it here, UFC athletes and coaches will travel abroad to host training clinics to international athletes. Like there's a bunch of different things in here that are good. But to your point, I'm interested to get your take on that because I know you probably didn't see it and I want to kind of put you.
So let me clarify my statement. Talking to the athletes specifically, there's a difference between event and platform. This is what I mean. In the event, specifically talking about what happened after that fight, the comment of Michelle Obama, that's what I mean by keeping the event. That's what everybody loves to see sports for the reason of hard work, dedication, commitment, paying off in real time, and then a champion being crowned. And it gives hope. It gives a certain sense of responsibility. It gives a certain sense of I can do this mentality. I've always loved that about sports, and that's what happens with the event. Now the platform is much different. And that's where you're your own man. You can do what you want. And that's where them signing that deal, whether that be a comment that you want to make post interview or pre-interview, whether it's the trash talking beforehand, whatever it might be. I think I'm just a little old school especially as now platforms are continuing to grow. You're seeing mega superstars being created. Your platform can stand on whatever you want to stand on. But then all I'm saying is that when the event happens, the actual event itself, that's where, and I'm not even talking for myself per se, I'm talking for the kids out there. the kids that look up to these athletes, if they want to become a UFC fighter, if they want to become an NFL football player, if they want to become a WNBA player, if they want to become an MLB player, whatever that dream is, what I would hate to happen is for an amazing event to go down and that kid is so excited about their future, and then it is botched by politics, by misnomers, by conversations that shouldn't be happening in that time. Let the adults and let all the decision makers and everybody around the sports and on the platform push what they want to push. Private companies are private companies. They can do what they want and they can have their own agendas. But all I'm saying is that when the event happens, you have so many kids that look up to so many of these athletes. Let's do our best as the adults and as the decision makers across all of sports. Let's do our best to ensure that sanctity is the same and it stays true to what sport is all about. And that is to be your best self 100%. In the biggest moments.
Yeah, everybody knows after a win, after any huge event, after you win the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, in this case the UFC, you have a huge platform. You have about 3 to 5 minutes to say something and talk when the interviewer is telling you something, and it should never be as crazy as the thing that was said by him. And you see it all the time. You see people shout out the things that matter to them, whether it's God, which was cool to see a lot of UFC fighters shouted out God, whether it's their family, their wife, whoever it is. But then, like you said, to be given that platform and then that's the thing you blurt out, it's just, I agree with you. It's not right. And it's kind of just how the UFC's went about running their business, is allowing fighters to say what they want to say.
Right.
And again, they're a private company. They do what they want. But
I'm just so old school in the fact that I just think that sports is the one place that I just see so much positivity, so much joy, so much entertainment. And I would hate to see this go in the wrong direction where agendas, politics take over what is so beautiful already. Like, let's keep it that way. But speaking on the topic of, kind of a tough segue there. Not a huge fan of that conversation. Yeah, altogether, Dana White, congratulations on an amazing event. The Big 12 now is suing Texas Tech, breaking today on Monday, June 15th. They filed federal lawsuit against Texas Tech, and Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, seeks confirmation Big 12 can enforce bylaws and sanction Texas Tech over playing Brendan Swarsby. Swarsby bet on his own team at Indiana. He sought inpatient treatment for gambling addiction. He then sued the NCAA for eligibility, and then he was granted an injunction last Monday to play this season. Big topic, in my opinion. And it actually didn't even mean for it to be this way, but it goes back to our conversation of keeping sports, especially the events itself, the beauty of it. I'm going to state my opinion. I do not agree with Texas Tech. I do not agree with the fact that, and I hate to say it, because I am very pro-athlete, but there is a line that is crossed, right? Brendan Swarsby, there's rules that are spelled out very clearly, right? And I'm gonna put myself on the stand for a second. There was a video. I was talking to somebody. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up.
This video pop up it comes up on my page. Everyone
comes up all the time. But it was me in the middle of the Michigan State game. We had just scored. I'll paint the picture for everybody. But we had just scored, and then I said to a teammate on the sideline, this is now, mind you, this is my senior night, and I love sports. I think it's such a fun deal, like everything about it. And in my senior night, I just wanted to cover the spread. Like I knew what the spread was going in. I didn't have any money on the game, obviously. I just wanted to cover it. But in that moment, in 4K, the television caught me saying that, and it went viral. Still to this day, I get people commenting, posting. I'll get tagged in it all the time. You could always come and knock my door. I did not gamble on the game. You could check my receipts on that. But I will say, in saying that, I don't think that he's in the right to play this season, because that is the one rule that we all know to keep sports the way that I just said, sacred. We have to ensure that we are doing our due diligence and our best to making sure that every single day you're upholding the rules that are given. And that is a very clear rule that was clearly broken, and now they are saying otherwise. Right. Now Texas Tech is trying to back their athlete, which I appreciate them doing their best to protect their student athletes. But as a student athlete, especially one that's getting paid millions of dollars, you have to understand the ramifications of what you are doing. And I I think that this could have been a really unique opportunity to, I'm not saying point a finger, but just make sports better. But now you go down this rabbit hole if you open up a can of worms here, because if now this guy can play,
Yeah.
are the rules even?
Yeah.
What's your thought?
I think I'm going to read some stats here, and you saying let's cover the spread is way different than what our guy Brendan Scoresby did. So he placed more than 9,000
Mine
bets.
was jokingly cover the
Jokingly,
spread
there was
on
no
a
bet
senior
placed.
night for all the boys out there. I just wanted to do a good thing that it
For
was
sure.
a fun career. I wanted to end it the right way.
So on that note, now Sorsby, on the other hand, he placed over 9,000 bets, totaling at least $90,000 over the last 3 years while he was enrolled at Indiana, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech, including at least 40 of those wagers involving his own team. That's currently in the court documents right now. So to that point, sure, should there be something done? 100%. Like, rules are rules. I don't think if they let this slide, then who's to say the receiver on Kansas can't go place 1,000 bets on his own team in this season? Like, what? Like, we can't allow that. So I guess if I'm picking a side, I'm siding with the Big 12 and saying that it's okay. Like, I get why they would want to be suing Texas Tech and Sorsby and whoever is involved in those parties of kind of where the decision went to, but I think there has to be some sort of, like, whether it's, I don't know if it's a fine or I think maybe like being kind of not able to play for a couple of games or half the season would be
For sure.
realistically. I mean, we all know this, like in the MLB, I forget what they call it, the something where you like, I forget what it is, but if you game on the sport, it happened to Pete Rose, you get banned from the sport for life. So they need to set a standard. It's college. There's a ton of rules changing in college athletics. This is one of the first times something like this bad at this stage has happened. If they just let this go, what does that then mean for the future of college athletics? I think somebody needs to take a stand here and put their foot down. There's rules, they were not followed, and something needs to happen, and a punishment needs to be put in place. And again, we're always for the athletes, but I can't. 9,000 bets, man. Like, holy smokes.
Yeah,
That's
no doubt.
crazy.
Well, we got to do our job of protecting college sports. It's such a critical moment right now of what's happening in our country, in the world, and near at home. What we both got out of not too long ago, the beauty of college sports. And this is definitely not what you like to see.
No.
It's not the excitement and the thrill and the beauty of college sports or sports as a whole. I am going to be following this very closely because I do think that it's going to be important moving forward. Who wins, the reasoning behind it, and how it gets ruled. But tough look. I won't even say the Big 12, but Texas Tech for sure needs to look internally and say, okay, are we doing the right thing here? And who knows? There might be more stats and facts that I'm missing, but in the current moment, it doesn't look great, and it needs to be corrected.
Yeah, I agree. Something has to happen. They can't let that slide, but we'll see when all the facts come out. So,
yeah. But all in all,
unbelievable weekend. I mean, this podcast was fun because we did not lack things to talk about with what happened between SpaceX IPO. What was that, on Friday, right? Last Friday that happened.
Friday.
And then leading into the weekend of one of the greatest sports weekends since I've been alive, with an event happening on the USC White House lawn, NBA Finals being as big as it was, the NHL was somewhere in that mix, and then being able to cover it. I love doing this podcast, man. It's a blast.
I did too. I got a shout out. Got the little one.
Nice.
We are getting closer and closer. We are officially 2 months out from at least the due date. I think it'll be earlier, but that is really cool to be able to look at every single day.
Crazy.
Cannot wait to see boy or girl. We have no idea.
It's insane, man.
You, the viewers, know better than I do. I think it's a girl. Juliana thinks it's a boy. We'll see. But yeah, that's episode 11. 53 years since the New York Knicks have won a championship. They've waited. Jalen Brunson comes through in the clutch, the World Cup, Stanley Cup, UFC being held on the White House lawn. All 7 ending in knockouts. I mean, this is what sports looks like in 2026. You have championships, World Cups, fights at the White House. You got governance crises with college sports, billions in enterprise value being created and contested in a single weekend, and not entertainment, not infrastructure. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful time to be a part of this journey, and it's been really cool to cover. So please like, subscribe, follow the podcast, follow the journey, go to our page on Instagram. We're trying to grow that. We're going to be pushing YouTube. I can guarantee you that very soon. We are going to be pushing YouTube. We'd love for people to subscribe, there as well. We will definitely let you know when that launch happens. But from your hosts, Sean and Liam Clifford, from playing the game to owning a piece of it, this is Playbooks and Portfolios, and we will see you next week.
Peace.